Hello, hello. Give me 1 second and we will get going. Just trying to make the live work on other platforms. Okay. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. Oh, it's not Friday, it's Monday. Oh my goodness. It's a long week. Just started. Hi, everybody. Welcome. If you're new here, my name is Kaya. I'm attempting to go live on multiple platforms at the same time so I can help as many people as possible. So just bear with me. I'm very, very excited to be here. Also, why is this zoomed so much? Okay, like this. Like this. Okay. Let's do this. Hi, everybody. I'm Kaya, your favorite queer automotive educator and the author of Mechanic Shop Femmes Guide to Car Ownership. Super excited to be here today to do a little chat about cars and to answer your questions. So if you have any questions about your car, go ahead and drop them in the chat and I'll do my best to answer them. Just going to give you a little bit of background about who I am and what I do and what you can expect from me. So I started working in the automotive industry when I was 18 years old. My first job was at a Sears Auto Center that no longer exists. The second Sears Auto Center, the third Sears Auto Center I worked at also no longer exists. But I started there without a driver's license, without, I got offered the job without a driver's license, without anything. I didn't know anything about cars. I used to say, I don't know the difference between a bumper and an oil change. And that's because it was 100% true. And I started this career that I never expected, totally unexpectedly. And I walked into the shop and I worked and I learned so much. My friend, hopefully now my friend Tiffany was my boss at the time, and she taught me so much. I remember having nightmares about tires falling off cars and rolling off the car because it was the wrong size. I remember having nightmares about the stacks of tires that would be stacked like 5 times taller than I was, falling down on me because that's where they would end up after a delivery. But you know what? Eventually I learned. Eventually I got more comfortable and got more confident. I asked thousands of questions. I mean, anybody who worked with me can tell you how annoyed they were about all my questions because I simply couldn't tell anybody anything that I didn't understand. And you know what? It worked really well for me in the long run. And today I have a book Mechanic Shop Femmes Guide to Car Ownership, that helps you answer those questions that you never even thought you needed to know, so that you don't have to ask them, so that you can reference it whenever you'd like, so that you can keep learning, so that you can better understand how your car works and what you need to do to buy one that actually fits your budget and works the best way possible. So you know how to find a great mechanic to help you maintain your car, so that you can find insurance that fits your needs, so that you can decide when it's time to let go of your car and know the answers about tires and brakes and maintenance you should do yourself. So I'm super excited to be here. If you're watching, let me know where you're watching from in the chat. Let me know what kind of car you currently drive. And if you have any questions, let me know that in the chat as well. I am going live on multiple platforms today. It's only my second time ever doing that. So just bear with me. So I have a check engine light on, and it's because of an error saying my catalytic converter is going bad. And my mechanic said that I should start buying premium gas or have to get a $9,000 catalytic converter. So I think there's a few things that are being conflated here. If your check engine light is on and your check engine light says that your catalytic converter is bad, then your catalytic converter is bad. And no amount of premium fuel that you're going to put in it is going to fix a bad catalytic converter. It says that the catalytic converter is $900. I tend to find that they run more, but it could be that your car has more than one catalytic converter, and this is going to be the less expensive of those options. But generally speaking, if your catalytic converter is bad, the only way to fix it is by replacing the catalytic converter. And actually, AAA has a study that says that $2.1 million a year is wasted on premium fuel. And they've found in their studies that it doesn't impact the vehicle in pretty much in any way. Unless your car recommends or requires premium fuel, there's no reason why you should use it. So I'm really sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but you're probably going to have to change your catalytic converter at some point, especially if you drive in a state that requires you to get emissions inspection, which would not be able to be passed if your check engine light is on. However, in most cases, you can keep driving your car if your catalytic converter is bad. The car will still run and drive the way that it does. However, if the catalytic converter is bad, it does mean that you have more emissions that are essentially being dumped into the environment. So that's something that I would take into consideration. And sometimes if the catalytic converter gets clogged, then that can cause problems for your driving. But generally speaking, it's something that you can wait a little bit on to do when you have the money, if you have to wait. Hi, everybody. I'm Kaya. This is my book, Mechanic Shop Femmes Guide to Car Ownership. If you're just joining us, please let me know where you're watching from, what kind of car you drive, and if you have any car questions. I'm really excited to answer this for you and be as helpful as I can. I have the same problem with my catalytic converter, and I just came across your live. Thank you. You're welcome. You know what? I'm going to make a note to add catalytic converters to my list of topics that I'm going to be talking about. I always have like a running list of things that I want to talk about, and that's a good one. I frequently talk about catalytic converters getting stolen. If your catalytic converter ever gets stolen, then if you have full coverage insurance, the insurance should cover the replacement unless it costs more than the value of the car. The guys at O'Reilly's were like, you put a bunch of fuel additives in it, but that's a temporary thing. Yeah, I wouldn't put any fuel additives in to help fix a bad catalytic converter. The catalytic converter is already bad. I just got a brand new battery. My Honda Accord intermittently flashes check charging system in red letters. If your Honda Accord is flashing check charging system, it's likely that you have a problem with the charging system unrelated to the battery. And if this light was going on before you replaced your battery and you didn't check the charging system when you installed the battery, it could be that you have a bad alternator that is what caused your battery to go bad in the first place. So this is an emergency. If your car have a check charge system light or a battery light on, this could mean that your car could cut off at any moment. However, I guess I would want to know how long it's been since you replaced the battery, and I would want you to get the charging system checked out right away. If this light comes on and it stays on, you need to get a tow truck. or the car might cut off on you while you're driving. I also had to get a brand new battery a few months into owning the car, wondering how normal that is. If you bought a brand new car and you needed a new battery a few months after purchasing that brand new car, that battery should be covered under warranty. If you purchased a used car and the used car needed a battery a few months after you purchased it, that likely meant that that battery was essentially at the end of its life cycle. It used to be that batteries can last 7 to 10 years, but these days batteries are lasting more along the lines of 3 to 5 years. So if you bought a car that's 5 years old, then it would have been time to replace your battery anyway. My tire keeps getting deflated. I have new tires for a year. They couldn't figure out what is wrong with the tires. You know what? There might not be anything wrong with the tires. There might be something wrong with the wheel. So if they can't figure out what's wrong with the tire, then I would have them check geez, my words are not working. The valve stem, in case the valve stem is leaking, and check to see if there's any dents in the tire, like from hitting a curb, or if there's excessive rust or buildup on the tire that's preventing on the wheel rather, that's preventing the tire from actually seating properly on the tire on the wheel, causing it to leak air. But what they should be doing is taking the wheel and tire off the car and putting into a water dunk tank. This shows where the little air bubbles will come through the water, and that will be able to point them in the right direction of where the leak is. 2002 Jeep Rubicon Gladiator, 52,000 miles, check engine light came on, and then the service shifter light came on. Lost power steering, completely dead a few hours later. It is very common that when a check engine light comes on, other lights can come on at the same time. Sometimes they could call it your car lights up like a Christmas tree, because your check engine light covers many, many different systems in your car. And there are other lights that also cover some of those systems. So you have the service shifter light came on for the power steering, the check engine light came on for the power steering. Now the car isn't running. Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Yes, that's me. I'm Kaya. Welcome. My name is Kaya. This is my book, Mechanic Shop Femmes Guide to Car Ownership. I help teach people, regular folks all over the United States and Canada, how to better understand their cars, how to save money, and how to do all the car things long term. I like to call it like adulting. I teach you all the things that your parents should have taught you, but they didn't. Hi, Jill. Jill wrote the foreword to my book, actually, and she just hopped on my TikTok live. I was crying on live the other day reading something that you wrote in the book. But yeah, she wrote the foreword to the book. She said a lot of really nice things, which makes it hard for me to read it myself because it's extremely complimentary and definitely appreciated. She's a badass, and I'm excited to have you on. Folks, let me know where you're watching from, what kind of car you're currently driving, and if you have any car issues that you want to have a conversation about, let me know that in the chat as well. In the meantime, while I don't see any questions, I'm just going to open my book to a random page, and I'm going to teach you something from that page, okay? And this is the chapter on tires, and this is going to be in the section of your spare tire and about tire sealant. Oh my goodness, look at all the glitter. Can you see it? There's a lot of glitter on this page. I don't know where it came from. So let's talk about your spare tire. Replacing your spare tire. Hi. Much like other tires on your car, your spare isn't going to last forever. It should be replaced every 10 years or if it gets damaged while in your car. I meant gets damaged while on your car. Use the Department of Transportation code on the side of the tire to determine the age of your spare. And earlier in the chapter on tires, I break down how you can find that information. Replacement spare tires can be purchased from the dealership parts department. Alternatively, some people go to the local junkyard and buy a donut from there, but this does carry the risk of getting a spare that's been damaged, so tread lightly. No pun intended. Atlanta, Mazda CX-30. I like it. I wish it was bigger. Yeah, a lot of people in the United States really love their big cars. And I feel that. I drive a Subaru Forester, and I wanted a bigger vehicle. Hello from DC, 2018 Subaru Forester. Seems like there's a delay in acceleration from stop. Recently replaced the drive belt and fuel induction service earlier this summer. I'd definitely get that checked out if there's a delay in acceleration. I do know that on newer Subarus that have the engine stop feature of some sort, sometimes it takes the engine a second to turn back on when you press on the gas to go. And I've definitely felt that, and that is normal. Hi, Colorado. Your wife drives an '08 Buick and coolant is disappearing, but no leaks. That is not good. The coolant could be leaking internally. I like Mazda because it seems reliable, like a Toyota, but has luxury touches for a good price. You know, Toyota and Subaru do a really great job making relatively basic cars, although Subaru has stepped it up with some of their vehicles, quite a few notches, because they're trying to give you the most reliable vehicle for the best price possible. And a lot of their customers don't necessarily want all those luxury touches if it means it's going to cost them more money. But I'm a big fan of Mazda. Mazda's been making really great cars for the last 5+ years. Yeah, the Highlander is an option of a car that definitely Toyota puts in some more of those luxury touches. The Avalon used to be a car that they put those luxury touches on also, almost like it's somewhere in between a Toyota and a Lexus because they could do luxury, just sort of understated practical luxury, right? And Subaru doesn't do luxury at all. They kind of just do the bare bones, bare minimum of everything, especially if you get the base model. My sister recently bought the 2024 Subaru Impreza in the base model, and there were some things that surprised her. She's like, "Oh, why don't they have that?" And that's the reason. So, random page. Winter tires. Oh, this is great. I love driving in the snow. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but as someone who loves cars, I also enjoy the challenge and skill required to drive during a storm. However, it wasn't until Infiniti invited me to Montana to learn more about winter driving that I fully grasped how much of a difference winter tires make. While there, it snowed and snowed and snowed. But Bridgestone's winter tires are made for exactly that kind of weather. They perform better than I could have possibly imagined. Performance like that is really important. Between 2007 and 2016, weather directly contributed to 22% of car crashes, and unfortunately, 16% of all crash-related fatalities. In inclement weather, especially snow, ice, and sleet, your tires are a first line of defense since they determine stopping distance, traction, and handling. That means that the tires you choose for colder months are critically important. So, what's the difference between regular tires and winter tires? Winter tires are specially designed to provide the best handling, traction, and stopping ability when there's snow on the ground. They include different rubbers, and the tread design is different too, with added sipes, thin slits in the tread that improve traction in rain, snow, and ice. The tires are also designed to remain pliable in colder temperatures. These differences allow for better steering control and shorter braking distances, as well as improved traction. Now, a lot of people don't need winter tires, and I go into who needs winter tires and what it makes sense for, and what are the different things that you should take into consideration, including the car you drive, your comfort level driving in the snow. For example, if you're moving from a hot state to a cold state and you're not familiar with driving in the snow, the frequency and the amount of snow, how often you have to actually drive in the snow, and more. I'm getting tired of getting got by mechanics. I'm getting your book, just putting it out there. I would take PTO if you taught a course in Connecticut, but for real, I would. Okay, so I got to tell you something. First of all, thank you so much for buying my book. And second of all, I've been offering virtual automotive classes for like 8 years now. I took a break while I published my book and I went on my book tour, and then I got sick over the summer. But I will be bringing back virtual classes very, very shortly. I will hopefully be able to schedule them by sometime mid next week. So if you're looking for a virtual automotive class that's taught live, not a class that you pre-recorded and you go watch it afterwards, where you can actually ask questions and we talk about different things, then check out those classes on my website. And in the meantime, my book, Mechanic Shop Fem's Guide to Car Ownership, is available wherever books are sold. I just looked at it, was $14.80 on Amazon, which is the best price I've seen for the book since it came out. And there is also an ebook and an audiobook version if those are something that you prefer. But I do like just putting the paperback book right into your glove box because that's where it will fit. And when you have a problem with your vehicle, just opening the book up to whatever that section is. Here we go again with tires. Whatever that section is, and reading about it so that you can make the decision that you need to make. So for example, I just opened it up to the page on gap insurance. And gap insurance is really, really, really important. And if you're purchasing a vehicle and you've never heard of gap insurance, saying, okay, let me stop, let me go look at the book and let me see what it says, or just pre-reading the chapters on how to buy a car and car insurance would help you be more prepared up front. A few months after buying my first car, a $7,000 Buick Century that you may remember from the credit union story in chapter 1, I was hit by a speeding drunk driver in a residential neighborhood. It was a rough situation. I was just 18 years old and the insurance company declared my car a total loss. But I felt confident that everything would be sorted out. Wasn't car insurance for moments just like this? Well, not quite. The balance of my car loan was about $1,500 higher than the value of my car. And while my insurance paid for the actual cash value of the car, I was left responsible for the difference between my value and the total loan amount. Now, keep in mind, this was about 3 months after I bought this car, okay? Which was, first of all, extremely expensive for me at the time. And I hadn't even gotten my first job when I got this car. I went in with 3 offer letters, 2 or 3 offer letters, and they gave me the car loan because of that, okay? This is where gap insurance would have come in if I'd had it. Gap insurance covers the difference between the actual cash value of the car and the balance that you owe on it. Since cars usually lose value the moment you drive off the lot, without gap insurance, you could be on the hook for quite a good bit of money, easily in the thousands of dollars. If your car gets totaled, the loan balance becomes due immediately. Ever since getting hit by a drunk driver, I've become an evangelist of sorts for the coverage, which would have benefited me and so many of the people I see in similar predicaments on a regular basis. And I'm not the only one. And this is where I talk about, I include a story from somebody else. Because when I was reaching the end of writing my book, I opened up a Google form for my friends and followers and community to share their stories with their cars. And this is going to be one of those stories. Penny, who still regrets that they didn't have gap insurance earlier in their life, says, get gap insurance. Even if the car's value is only $500. It is $500 you probably don't have at the time of the accident. It will prevent you from paying for a car you do not drive and get further and further down in the hole. For 3 years, I made payments on a car I didn't own and drove the crappiest truck known to man, says Penny. It was always frustrating to me that the dealership hadn't offered gap insurance or didn't explain it in a way that my folks saw value in it. That should be illegal. So, and it goes in who needs gap insurance and when you need gap insurance, because although this person in their story says if your car's worth $500, you should get gap insurance, it's a little bit of an exaggeration. And I go through and I explain what things you need. When does it make sense for you to get car insurance? You're about to buy a truck. This is great. Thank you so much. Lindsay, the first 2 chapters of my book, which is the longest chapters in the entire book, focus on buying a car, particularly buying a used car, although I do have a section on leases, and I have a section on fees that you'd pay on a new car, but buying a new car is a little bit easier than buying a new car, a used car, so that's the reference. And then I have a whole chapter on car insurance and extended warranties, which follows that up if that's an area that you need assistance with as well. What kind of car are you thinking of buying? Folks, my name is Kaya. Go ahead and triple tap the screen on TikTok and send some likes over so we can get this live pushed out into the FYP. That would mean a lot to me. Share it with your friends and do all the things. Lindsay, her book saved me in negotiating for a car. Best of luck to you. Thank you so much. And I think the reason why my book is so helpful is because I start from the beginning and I build up. Oh, I got a little crowd. That was cute. And I build up to those situations. And I also don't focus on the dollars and cents of buying the car at the beginning. I focus on getting the best car you can get for the best money you have, doing all your research up front and understanding what you need and what you want to purchase and all of those things before you ever get to the dealership, before you ever get to the negotiating. And if you set that foundation up correctly, then the negotiating is a heck of a lot easier. I'm going to buy your book. I already have a camper and I'm going to go on the road, 1/2 ton truck. That's awesome. My book doesn't specifically talk about larger like commercial vehicles or living in your car, although I do get a lot of people to ask me about that. Just a little bit of a slightly separate subject from what I have, but I still think that the book would probably be very helpful to you. Hello, hello. Welcome in. I'm going to pick another random page of the book and we're going to learn something new, okay? Okay, belts and hoses. Somebody was talking about replacing a belt earlier, so this is great timing. Serpentine belt. Most belts have a single serpentine belt, sometimes called a drive belt. It powers the water pump, alternator, power steering pump, air conditioning, and the air conditioning compressor. The AC compressor. If you drive an older vehicle, your car may have 2 or 3 belts, depending on the make and model. Belts are made of rubber and are subject to extreme fluctuating temperatures, both hot and cold, as well as oils and dirts, causing them to wear out over time. If a serpentine belt fails, it will take out the systems it powers. This essentially means your car won't be drivable. Your alternator won't power your car, your power steering pump won't work, and your water pump won't circulate coolant to cool the engine. If you have multiple belts, the system that's powered by the broken belt is the one that will fail. So for example, if you have a car that has 3 belts and has a separate power steering belt, if your power steering belt breaks, your car will still turn on and it will still run and it will still drive, but it will be impossible to steer. Well, possible, but not totally impossible. The good news is that once a belt is replaced, everything will go back to normal unless there's other damage caused by the belt. If a belt shreds or fails while driving, it could damage the belt tensioner, the alternator, and even the power steering pump. So it's in your best interest to replace belts before they have a chance to fail. Do those diagnostic scanners actually work? Great question. And the answer is yes and no, and it depends. What you're likely referring to is budget-friendly diagnostic scanners that you can buy at your local AutoZone, that you could just plug into your car, or long-standing sensors, for example, like the Fix sensor, which is a brand I partnered with a while back, which scan your check engine light and tell you what codes are in your engine. So they are very helpful with giving you an idea of what's going on. They're very helpful if you want to do some Googling and you want to decide if this is something you have to handle right away or not. However, these diagnostic tools aren't going to give you all the answers. And in a lot of cases, these tools, if you just simply follow the code that it says, you will not actually get to the root of the problem. And then you will be back to square one if the repair fails. So it gives you an idea. It gives you a place to start Googling. There's a lot of benefits to that. But that is, the extent of it. Somebody was asking earlier about a catalytic converter that caused the code to go on in their car, the check engine light to go on in their car. the catalytic converter would have thrown a code P0420, P0430. Those are most often very straightforward codes. If you get that code, you need a new catalytic converter. But it is possible that something caused that, like, for example, a random multiple misfire that was going on for long enough and didn't get repaired could cause the catalytic converter to go bad. Makes sense? Okay, random page. Maintenance required light. Okay, this is good. So this is the chapter on dash lights, and it's the maintenance required light or engine oil needed soon or whatever it's called on your car. Unlike the oil pressure light, the maintenance light does not indicate an emergent problem. Instead, think of this as a reminder light. It's there to remind you to change your oil at certain intervals. When this light comes on, there's nothing broken or wrong with your car. In fact, you might not even need an oil change yet. Instead of relying strictly on the maintenance light, be sure to track and schedule oil changes so you get them done at the right time. While the maintenance light is getting better on newer vehicles, it still works correctly if the light was reset at your last oil change. If the light wasn't on at your last oil change, chances are your mechanic forgot to reset it. So if the light comes on, refer to your records to see if it's actually time to replace your engine oil. If it is, great, go get it taken care of. And if it's not, resetting the maintenance reminder light is usually relatively simple, although silly experience. And I have these little boxes throughout the book. They're little tip boxes where I just give you something a little extra. In this case, all right, tip. Google the year, make, and model of your car with the words oil light reset for instructions. They may sound something like this. Open the door, turn on the car, press the brake, turn off the car, press the brake 3 times, turn on the car without starting the engine, press the brake again, and then start the car. Seriously, as funny as that sounds, every car has its own unique reset procedure. I think the ones that are the easiest to reset are probably going to be the Hondas because you typically just click through the stuff and you could reset it. But that is a very, that is one, it is a common way to do that. So thank you all so much for being here. Okay, folks, I think I'm going to end this for tonight. I really appreciate y'all being here. I'll see you on the FYP, and I will be back live soon, hopefully. Probably not until at least Friday. But have a wonderful day. Enjoy. We'll talk later.